Alrighty. Hey guys, I am back. I have been so thrilled about this getting ready for the New Year conference, and I want to just come on and talk with you guys about grit and how we can get ready for the new year. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to now share my screen, and I will talk with you guys about thriving through the new year and how we can make sure that we are gritty no matter what. For those that you might not know me, you might not know the work that I have had the honor to do. My name is Dr. G.R.I.T. I love grit. I love everything about grit, and I love helping others to thrive through grit. And so with that said, I do want to start with my presentation. And in this presentation, we're going to be talking about how we can thrive through grit in 2026. And so with that said, I'm going to first introduce myself and let you guys know who I am, a little bit about what I do. Again, my name is Dr. India White. And I've been a TEDx speaker. I've been an educator. I'm sorry, I'm just doing a lot of different things, all the different live streams and things like that. So I'm checking out all the technology. Okay. And so I do have some speakers that are also coming into the stage in the back. So I'm excited about that. And I will bring them on. So I've had the opportunity to be a national consultant. I've had the opportunity to go into the math spaces as an educator and so much more stuff. And we've had a great time. And so with that said, I am going to now get started and really go into my presentation for you guys. So the first thing I want to talk about with you guys is women in burnout. And so I'm sorry, guys, I'm just trying to get this other stream going. I've got some things taking place here with these streams. Okay. So with women in burnout, we found that women, they have significantly higher rates of burnout than men, especially data showing that there's 55% of women that are reporting burnout. Also, we found that 60% of senior women are feeling frequently burnout, the highest in 5 years, and it's controlled by factors like gender bias, unequal care giving loads, lack of support, and leading many women to consider leaving the workforce. Okay, so there's a lot going on there. And so we'll continue moving forward. So 4 reasons why we need grit. Here are some 4 reasons that are here before you guys. And I want you to see that and know that we've got to do something to solve this problem. We've got to help women. We've got to help all over to see what we can do different. So sorry, guys, I'm literally doing another, trying to help you guys. All right. So again, my name is Dr. India White. I'm excited about this. I'm excited about this, and I've already talked to you guys about some of the work that I've done as an educator, and I went into how women have this burnout. And the thing I want to really focus on is the lack of support and how we need to really strengthen that for women, and why we need to now go through these different reasons why women need grit. I'm excited because I have speakers that are coming on. Let's see if I can add her to the stage. Welcome, welcome. I'm going to continue presenting as I've just added one of our speakers to the stage. So 4 reasons why women need grit. We have to be able to navigate through challenges with strength. We also have to lead with confidence and clarity. Women need to be able to sustain growth without burnout. And we also need to be able to turn vision into results. Grit bridges the gap between goals and outcomes by combining persistence, discipline, and purposeful action for women. And through that effective time management, it helps us to stay focused, balanced, and committed to long-term success. And I don't know about you, but I think that many of us are really striving for that in these days. Now, what is grit? Grit is great resilience in time. That is an acronym that I came up with on the TEDx stage. It is a main factor that is needed for success of leaders, of women, of students, of teachers. We have found in our research, I found it at the University of Florida, Dr. Angela Duckworth found it in her research, that grit is it. Grit is a key to success for all of us. And you have to see grit as a trait. It's like a muscle, and it's something that everybody has. You just have to learn how to cultivate it. And we'll be talking today about how to cultivate grit so that we can thrive into 2026. So grit is it. We found that grit supported leaders during moments of discouragement. It also led to other factors in the grit levels of each leader, whether that was like a mentor, having a sense of belonging, needing some type of organizational talent, or needing some type of wealth accommodations. No matter what it was that you coupled grit with, it really took that person to the next level and it helped them thrive. And so grit it's like a glue that keeps all of the great elements together in somebody's life when they're really trying to be successful. It's the glue that holds the organization together. And this is why we need it today. So with that said, I do want to give you guys a moment to measure your grit levels and go ahead and take the grit assessment. So you'll have here the grit assessment. I'm sharing my screen so that you can go ahead and start taking the grit assessment. So I'll give you guys about 3 minutes or so to take that and then share out like how you feel. So go ahead and scan that. Go ahead and scan the grit assessment, and then we will share out. As you're taking the grit assessment, whenever you get down to the end of the grit assessment, I want you guys to be able to tell what was your weakness when it came down to grit, and how you want to build your weakness. And then, of course, what were your strengths? So as you scan the QR code and you're doing the grit assessment, I want you to, again, be able to tell where were your weaknesses, and then tell what would you do different to strengthen that weakness. And not only that, what are your strengths of the grit assessment? So take a moment now and scan that. And I am removing my banner so that you guys will be able to see that. All right. And I will add my speakers to the stage. Welcome, welcome.
Well, hello.
India. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you? It's so awesome.
Yes, welcome. I can't wait to hear from you.
Yeah, you are fantastic at speaking. It's so amazing that you're helping so many people.
Oh, thank you. You know, we all need to be gritty, and I can't wait to hear from you, rock stars, as well. Hey, Francis, thanks for joining us. How are you?
Hi, good morning. Live from Sydney, Australia. It's not even 7 a.m. on Saturday morning. So good morning.
Thank you so
and
much.
It's rainy.
You are such a trooper. Oh my goodness, it's an honor to have you. My goodness. So yeah, so we are taking the grit assessment. If you guys have scanned the QR code, feel free to scan it, take it for a couple of minutes, and then we're going to chime in about maybe, you know, how that made you guys feel as well. That's fine. I just want the audience to be able to, you know, explore the grit assessment and to know that this is a tool that will help them for 2026 as they're planning on thriving in 2026. So I'm giving you guys a minute.
And you know what it is? It is all about how we're going to thrive in 2026 and get gritty, right? And be very resilient.
That's right. I'm loving it. So in about a minute or so, if you guys have scanned it, let me know if you guys have scanned it, even you speakers here, and then we'll go over our results. I can tell you where I was weak at, whenever I did the grit assessment. Whenever I took the grit assessment, I scored low. I scored high in growth mindset, which I was like, okay, yay, right? But I actually scored low in time management, and I scored low in self-efficacy. And for me, I scored low in the self-efficacy piece because of different things that I had to endure, traumatic things that were still kind of lodged in my mind when it came down to my ability to be great, my ability to thrive and do things. And so I found that was very interesting that, different seeds that were planted by those that claimed they love me were affecting my ability to be a leader and to be successful. And I found that I had to go through the counseling that I needed and the therapy to get rid of some of those things that were lodged in there. There's nothing wrong with being human and having those moments. But I will encourage each and every one of you guys to know that you are worthy. You do have value, and you do belong at the table. You deserve the seat at the table. See, for me, I didn't think that I deserved the seat at the table because so many people told me that I didn't belong, or I was a token, or I just wasn't competent, wasn't fit. And I had to unravel through those things and clear it out and know that I did belong at those tables. And so for those leaders out there, I want you all to know that you do belong as well. And you are in that position, you are in that seat, you are the leader for whatever your business is, your corporation, whatever, because you deserve it and you have what it takes to execute it. So any of you guys want to chime out about what you think about the assessment or what you think about grit so far?
Well, I've just literally just done it. So I scored definitely low in time management. I think for me personally, like I can get distracted because I'm always like doing so many things at like once. And then I'm like, no, I need to focus on one thing. If I have like a list, then can tick it off and all that sort of stuff. And I think, everybody's different, but that personally like works for me, have a list and then be like, okay, otherwise I'm going to forget anyway. And then I'm like, oh, what do I need to do? And yeah, so I definitely scored low in that. And then I think with time management, like if I know what I'm doing and if it's done in advance, then I'm good. But otherwise, like I can do well under pressure, but I'm also like, oh, I need to get done like right now.
I think, yeah. That was awesome. I think it's really important to figure out like where you stand and where you can work on things in life, and then sort of like working out a plan to get there. I love this grit assessment. It's awesome, India. It's so great. It looks like I got a pretty high score. I work on myself all the time. One area that I can really work on is overbooking myself. So that falls into time management, I think. I think that's time management for sure. I hold myself very accountable, and I love helping people. And so my day is usually jam-packed from morning until evening. So that is an area that I find that I struggle with on a weekly basis, is scheduling in me time. I like to call it soul health time. So I call it soul health time, girl. Soul health. You gotta take time for yourself to take your little namaste moments,
Excellent. I love that. And thanks so much for sharing with us, Miriam. And we can't wait to hear you speak in a little bit. I'm going to continue going now, guys, with this. With our fabulous presentation on grit. Thank you for taking that assessment and sharing out. First things first, we need goal setting. We have to make sure we're having those positive affirmations. We have to look into vision boards, and we have to also have intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. We'll be talking about vision boards later on today. Intrinsic and extrinsic motivation is key, because you have to know what your why is, and that usually is going to be fueled by what you're believing on the inside. And then extrinsically, how are you going to celebrate? Is that going to be a cruise? Is that going to be a mango smoothie? Is that going to be a trip to the mall? Is that going to be just some type of reflection and celebration among loved ones? What is that going to be? So I want us to really keep that in mind for 2026 as we're really trying to cultivate grit. You got to keep it going. Every one of us have it, but we have to know how to keep that going. So how do we then put grit in action for all of our leaders? Let's talk about it. So first things first is the grit framework. Okay. The 4 pillars of that grit framework, of course, as we just spoke about, are growth mindset, resilience, self-efficacy, and time management. That QR code is for a workbook. That's actually a discounted rate for you guys that are on this live stream today, for our leaders, and for those that are going to be watching the recording later on. You will see it there for you. This is a grit workbook for leaders, and this has the actual workbook in 6 weeks. It's about 6 to 8 weeks worth of different activities that you can do, and how you can reflect on the grit workbook and really kind of take this in. So I provided that for you guys because it's key if you're really trying to cultivate grit and keep grit going for 2026. This is a year for us to shed off the mess and to go into this to thrive. Really don't apologize for it. You're going into this to thrive. Okay. Next, grit pillars for success. Here's some pillars. When you're talking about growth mindset, resilience, self-efficacy, and time management, you're going to have, as leaders, we have to definitely boldly affirm that greatness is already within us. Okay. You also have to have the courage to persevere through adversity. Okay. We rise and adapt as we press forward, no matter the challenge, because we know that quitting is not an option. Okay. Again, quitting is not an option. The next thing that we want to look at is that self-efficacy, or that inner confidence, because true leadership, it begins from within. Okay. So as we're planting those seeds, listen, y'all, of self-belief, affirming our worth and trusting our abilities, we strengthen our inner confidence. If we believe in ourselves, and that gives us the permission to do the same, and also to strengthen others. Okay. It's hard to fill the glass if we don't believe in ourselves, we don't believe in others. If you guys want to comment on that, feel free to comment and share out. So I will let you guys share out, either Francis or Miriam, if you guys want to share out what you think about the grit pillars.
Oh, I think Francis is gone. I love the grit pillars. Girl, this growth mindset, resilience, inner confidence, and time management. I mean, it's really true, because you have to actually really be centered in who you are, and that's what I'm going to go into talking about later, because if we don't know where we're driving our ship, and where we're going, then we are not going to get anywhere. We're just not going to get anywhere. So the fact that we have to really decide, how are we going to manage our time, and where are we going? Where's our goal? Totally agree with you. So the grit pillars are fantastic, India.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Miriam. And Francis, feel free to share out.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I totally agree with both of you. And lately, I don't know if you've seen, Oprah came to Australia, but I went to see Oprah.
Wow.
And so, yeah.
Oprah came to Australia.
She hasn't been back in about 10 years. But her conversation was really about this, and really about how, if you have people in your circle, and if they make you go, you question yourself. She said, get rid of them. She said, your circle is so important. And she said, even though she's famous and everything, but she had people around her who would make her question herself. And she said, once you have those people around you, she said, no, they're not good for you. She said, it doesn't even matter if they're family, your best friend, whoever. If you don't have that circle that's supporting you, then you wouldn't be able to do these grit pillars, because you question yourself. So
exactly. And thank you for sharing out, ladies. And so with that, I also want to remind you guys of the time management. I think that is the one thing that has been missing in many people's lives, is that time management and that accountability of holding ourselves accountable. And so with that said, time management, it talks about how purpose-driven leaders, they understand the value of time. We have to hold ourselves accountable and remain focused on our vision and steward each moment wisely, because success is intentional, and it starts with how we manage our time, our priorities, and our commitments. So now, how do you harness grit in women and in leaders? First, you lead with that growth mindset. So an action tip here can be replacing your I can't with I'm learning how. Okay. Choosing to document one leadership lesson that you've gained from every challenge that you face. Okay. Another thing you want to do is you want to strengthen your resilience through adversity. Okay. So, resilient leaders, they don't avoid hardship, they rise through it. Another thing is to build that inner confidence intentionally. Okay. Growth in that confidence, it happens whenever you affirm your voice, you honor your achievements, and listen, silence self-doubt. I think that is huge, because so many times we're like, oh, I just don't know if I've got what it takes. I don't know if this is gonna, I want to launch this, and you're like sitting on this for like 2 years. You need to just go ahead and launch it, right? You need to go ahead and do it, and watch it grow. Okay. I'll never forget the first book I wrote, and you guys know I've written quite a few books. I've now written 70 published works, and that's beyond the math textbooks, self-published books, 70 works. But the first book, I doubted myself so much. I actually have the book on my shelf. I would turn around and look. Here, I have it. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's called How to Overcome Obstacles from Your Past. This is the very, very, very first book that I wrote. I wrote this book in 2011. I remember because I was pregnant with my son, and I was like, I need to get the book done before I give birth. But I doubted myself. I doubted that I could do it. And the book was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it forced me to get out there. And I want to encourage each of you to thrive, force yourself, soar, do it afraid, as they say, do it anyway. Stop doubting yourself. You never know who needs your talent, who needs your voice, and who needs what you have to offer in this world. So with that said, I want to also talk about mastering time management with purpose, and also surrounding yourself, like Oprah said, with grit-focused support, because nobody thrives alone, right? Making sure that you're setting those clear goals as you're meeting those deadlines, and you're doing the great things that you need to do. And then, of course, I want you guys to take with you also different strategies to cultivate these grit. I want you to focus on the one that says building self-efficacy through affirmations and action. If anything, if I can leave you with anything, I think that's going to be the theme about how we thrive, is you have to do it through affirmations and action every day. What is your affirmation? And what is the action step? What is your grit move? What are you going to do to really thrive and to make this thing happen? I know I'm running low on time, so I'm so happy as we're getting ready to wrap up. So again, I want us to thrive, and I wanted to come up with an acronym for all of us. So for T, it'll be time stewardship. H, hope-fueled growth. Adopt your growth mindset and have it rooted in belief and possibility. Give yourself a chance. Put the past to the side. Give yourself a fresh chance in 2026. Okay? Have resilient leadership. R. Okay? Persevere through those challenges with strength and grit. I. Inner confidence. Leading your voice and your abilities. V. Having that vision-driven action. Okay? What does that look like? Aligning your daily actions with long-term goals. And then E. Having empowered, powerful, guys, execution. Taking consistent action using the grit framework. Okay? So let's thrive into 2026. And with that said, feel free to scan that. That is a code to my Grit Master Course. It has over 14 different lessons in the entire course. And each lesson really goes through grit, what it looks like, how it makes sense. And after you take that course, you will never, ever again question what grit is, what it looks like in your life, and how to really make it pliable and tangible so that you can thrive. So thank you for letting me share. I hope you guys are able to scan that code for that Grit Master Course. And then I would love to keep in touch with you guys. So I'm going to leave you here with the survey. where you could fill this out. You could scan that survey, and you have my information there for you. You have my website, india.white.123@gmail.com, and you have or excuse me, that's my email, india.white.123@gmail.com, and my website, india-white.com. And then, of course, my Instagram information. Feel free to scan that. You can leave me your information so that we can see how we can service you in 2026. So thank you so much. That's all I have for you guys. Up for our next speaker, I believe that's Leticia, correct? So Leticia, we are
hello.
We are so excited to have you.
You.
And so what a conference this has been from people all over the globe. I'm loving this, and I love the conversation we're having. We've had mental grit, we've had grit regarding health, grit regarding race. And so now, Leticia, I kind of want us to give you the floor, and if you could just introduce yourself to us, and then if you need to share the screen, let us know, and we will remove ourselves so you can have this. This is your moment to shine. This is your moment to give us as much grit as you've got so we can glean into 2026 thriving with what you're giving us. So I'm now giving you the floor. Leticia, welcome.
Hello, and thank you, Dr. India, for having me today. I'm really excited. My name is Leticia. I am known as the Survival Mode Disruptor. I am a trauma recovery mentor that facilitates disruptive, unapologetic transformations for high achieving women who are ready to exit survival mode and take radical ownership of their lives, their growth. And I love having conversations about the residual impact of trauma. I love having conversations about working through trauma and getting out of survival mode. And today, I'm going to focus on how survival mode redefines your grit.
Excellent. I love it. And so let us know if you need to share the screen, if you have a presentation.
I don't. It's just me talking. Hopefully, I can grip you enough to keep you here.
Well, I'm going to give you the floor. And
okay. So most people look at me and say, you're so strong. You're so resilient. You've got so much grit. And I always smile. But what they don't know is that strength, that grit, that resilience, it wasn't built from a life that was kind to me. It was built from a life that cornered me because survival demanded it. You see, grit gets celebrated in rooms like this. We clap for it. We admire it. We wear it like a badge of honor. But no one asks the more uncomfortable question. What did your grit cost you? Because a lot of women, especially high achieving women, grit isn't just a trait. It's an identity that we were forced to build when things weren't safe, stable, or predictable. I didn't wake up one day and decide to be strong. I became strong because weakness wasn't an option. There was a moment in my life, one of many, where survival mode fully took over. I was sitting in a jail cell, not because I was violent, not because I was reckless, but because I was trapped in a cycle of abuse, manipulation, and control that had slowly taught me one thing: to endure, to not feel, and to just push through. And in that moment, everything that I thought that made me strong was actually the very thing that was keeping me stuck. Later, my mother asked me a question that cracked me open in ways I wasn't prepared for. She asked me, why did I love everyone else more than I love myself? And I always say that was like a Mike Tyson body blow. She winded me with that question. It didn't feel empowering. It felt like grief because I realized something devastatingly honest. I had built a life around grit, but not around myself. And that's what I want to talk about today, because most of the women in this room who will catch the replay of this amazing conference, they don't lack grit. We're all overflowing with it. You've survived heartache, loss, betrayal, burnout, injustice, and expectations that were never yours to carry in the first place. You learned how to keep going when stopping felt dangerous. You learned how to smile when things were falling apart. You learned how to be the strong one because, well, somebody had to be. But the truth that we don't say enough, the grit that is built to survive is not the same grit that will help you thrive. Survival grit teaches you to endure pain. Empowered grit teaches you to choose yourself. Survival grit says, just get through this. Empowered grit says, I refuse to build a future that requires my suffering as payment. And if we're being honest, really honest, some of the strength that we're most proud of was forged in moments that never should have happened to us in the first place. So today, instead of pushing harder, it's not just about doing more. It's not just about proving how resilient you are. Today is about redefining grit. It's about asking yourself, am I using my grit to protect my healing, or am I using it to punish myself? Because there comes a point where strength without self awareness becomes a cage. And my work, my mission is helping women break out of that. And that is the beginning of the death of me. Not the death of my power, but the death of the version of me and you that learn to survive at the cost of ourselves. And what comes next? Well, that's where real grit begins. So let me say something that might feel uncomfortable at first. Most of the grit that we celebrate as women was not born from confidence, it was born from necessity. We didn't wake up one day and decide, I think I'm going to be resilient today. We became resilient because we had to. Because somewhere along the way, our nervous system learned it's not safe to fall apart. It's not safe to need help. It's not safe to slow down. So we adapted. And that adaptation is what we call grit. But here's the problem: when grit is born in survival mode, it doesn't come from choice. It comes from threat. And anything built under threat eventually asks for a price. No one teaches little girls how to weaponize strength. We absorb it. We learn it in environments where being emotional gets us punished, where being needy gets us abandoned, where being quiet keeps the peace, where being good keeps us safe. So strength becomes an armor. We learn how to perform competence, how to hold it together, how to be impressive instead of being honest, how to be reliable instead of real. We become the women, or the women that everyone leans on while silently collapsing inside, and the world applauds us for it. You're so strong. You're a survivor. I don't know how you do it. You always handle things so well, they will say. But no one asks at what cost. Because survival mode grit is impressive, but it's also exhausting. It looks like power on the outside while it's draining you on the inside. At first, being strong feels empowering. It feels control, like safety. But over time, something subtle happens. Strength stops being something you use and starts being something you are. It becomes an identity. I'm the strong one. I don't fall apart. I
Hmm.
handle things. I don't need help. And then suddenly
Wow.
rest feels like failure.
Yeah.
Asking feels like weakness. Receiving feels unsafe. You don't even ask yourself what you want anymore. You
Hmm.
ask what needs to be handled. And that's not
Wow.
empowering, it's conditioning. And Here's the hard truth: when strength becomes an identity instead of a choice, you are no longer empowered. You are trapped. So
Wow.
let's clear something up. Survival mode is not who you are, it is what your nervous system learned to be. And it shows
Wow.
up in four primary ways. You might recognize yourself in one, or you may recognize yourself in several. That's normal because survival, it adapts. So we're going to start with fight, right? Fight doesn't always look like aggression. In high achieving women, it looks more like control. Over planning, over working, over
Yeah.
explaining, over performing. Fight says, if I stay sharp, nothing will catch me off guard.
Wow.
These women are decisive, driven, intense. They get things done, but underneath, there's often anger that never gets space, grief that never gets acknowledged, boundaries that are crossed one too many times. Fight, bar- Fight buries pain by staying busy. So the
Oh
next
wow.
one is flight, right? Flight looks like movement. Always the next
Hmm.
goal, the next project, the next
Yeah.
reinvention. Flight says if I don't slow down, I don't have to feel.
Oh
So
wow.
we as women, we are productive, we are ambitious, we are visionary, and we always got something to do and somewhere to
Always.
go. But
Always.
stillness feels unbearable. Silence feels loud and rest feels unsafe. So
Right.
flight avoids pain by staying in motion.
Hmm.
The next is freeze, and freeze is often misunderstood. It looks like procrastination, numbness, indecision, disconnection. But freeze isn't laziness, it's overload. Freeze happens when the body decides, I can't fight this. I can't run from this. I can't shut down. And the most important part, freeze is where memories get buried. When something is
Wow.
too overwhelming, the brain fragments it, files it away, locks it up in a subconscious safe that is
Yeah.
buried
Oh
for
my goodness.
access. So you might say, I don't remember much from that time, or I
Yeah.
know something happened, but it's all fuzzy. And again, this is not weakness, this is protection. The next is fawn, right? Fawn is the most socially rewarded survival response. That's
Hmm.
people pleasing, over accommodating, smoothing things over, putting everyone else first. Fawn
Everyone else.
says, if you're happy with me, I'm safe. And we as
Oh wow.
women, we are kind, we are intuitive, we are emotionally intelligent. We can read the room instantly, but we lose ourselves in the process. Just like freeze, fawn also suppresses our memory, especially memories tied to anger, violation, and resentment, because
Wow.
those emotions weren't safe to express. So the body learned, don't feel that, don't remember that, just
Mm.
keep the peace.
Mm.
So here's what
Wow.
emotional or survival mode grit cost us. It costs us our bodies. It costs us our relationships, our joy, our sense of ease. It creates burnout we can't explain, health issues we ignore, resentment we suppress, success that feels hollow. Because survival grit teaches us how to endure life, but not how to enjoy it. And the most dangerous part is we normalize it. We call it just how I am. We call it
Ah,
drive. We call it discipline. We call it ambition. But your body knows the truth. Your
your
nervous
body.
system always keeps receipts, sis.
Mm.
So here's a question
Wow.
I want you to sit with. And I don't want you to answer it quickly. There's no intellectual answer. I want you to feel this. Is your grit protecting you or is it punishing you? Is it helping you build a life that feels aligned or is it keeping you stuck in survival patterns that no longer serve you? Because grit that protects you, it protects your healing. It feels different. It has boundaries. It has discernment. It has rest and support and softness without shame. Punitive grit never lets you stop, never lets you need, never lets you receive. And many of us confuse punishment with strength.
Wow.
So I'm going to say this as clearly as possible. You cannot measure grit until you understand what shaped it. If your grit was built in chaos, your assessment of your grit will reflect survival, not empowerment. If your grit was forged in threat, your resilience might actually be trauma. And that
Wow.
doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It just means something happened to you. This phase, I like to call self awareness. It's not about judgment, it's about clarity because once you see your patterns, you stop being ruled by them. And when grit becomes conscious, it stops being compulsive.
Wow.
So I want you to really reflect on this. And I don't want you to ask, how gritty am I? I want you to ask, what did my grit have to do to keep me safe? Because honoring that truth, that's the first step to transforming it. And that's where survival mode starts to open up. Now that we've named what survival mode grit looks like, we have to talk about why it's so hard to stop. Because awareness alone doesn't change behavior. You can know you're burnt out. You can know you're overdoing it. You can know that you're living in survival mode and still feel completely unable to slow down. That's not a failure of willpower. It's neuroscience, right? Here's a truth that most people will never tell you. Your brain isn't wired for happiness. It's not wired for fulfillment. It is not wired for joy. Your brain is wired for survival. Its job is simple. Detect the threat, avoid the danger, and keep you alive. So once your brain learns what danger looks like, it will prioritize familiarity over well-being every single time, even if that familiarity is painful. So if chaos was normal, if instability was home, if love came with conditions, if safety was inconsistent, your nervous system learned this is what life feels like. And anything different, anything calmer, anything slower, it doesn't register at that as peace. It registers it as the unknown. And because your brain is wired for safety, your brain hates the unknown. This is why so many high achieving women say things like, I don't know how to relax. I get anxious when things get quiet. I feel guilty when I'm not productive because your nervous system has been conditioned by threat. Calm doesn't feel calming. It feels suspicious. Your body thinks, why is it quiet? What am I missing? What is about to go wrong? So you create noise, you create tasks, you create problems, you create movement because you're addicted to busyness. Not because and that's because busyness feels normal and predictable. And predictable feels safer than peaceful. So stillness is one of the hardest things for women in survival mode because stillness removes distraction, and distraction has been doing a lot of emotional heavy lifting. When you stop moving, your body finally has space to feel. And for many of us, those feelings, they were never welcome.
Mm.
So your nervous system says, nope, time to go back to work. Time to
Right.
scroll. Let's go fix something or somebody. Let's achieve something else.
Wow.
Stillness feels like failure because somewhere along the way, your worth was tied to your output, and rest became something you had to
Yeah.
earn. But let me say this clearly, sis. If you have to earn rest, you are living survival rules. And I think this one will hit deep.
Wow.
Many people or many women in survival mode struggle not with giving, but with receiving. Receiving support,
Right.
receiving help, receiving love, and even receiving ease. Because somewhere in your past, needing something came with a consequence. It made you vulnerable,
Wow.
disappointed, ashamed, and even controlled. So your nervous system decided, I better rely on myself. I better handle
Wow.
this alone. It is better not to need. And then we call that independence. We call that strength. We call that grit. But often it's just self protection wearing a power suit.
Wow.
Receiving feels like weakness because it requires trust. And
Right.
trust is risky. When people who were supposed to protect you didn't.
Yeah.
This is why telling yourself to just relax doesn't work. Why positive affirmations fall flat. Why mindset work alone just hits a wall. Because
Right.
survival mode is not a belief problem, it's a psychological state. Your nervous system is scanning constantly. Your cortisol is elevated. Your body is braced. You are prepared for impact even when nothing is wrong. So when someone says you can slow down now, your body responds because it
Mm.
doesn't feel safe. Your healing begins when your body learns that I'm not in danger anymore. So I
Wow.
want to take this even further because many of us didn't just learn grit personally, we inherited it. We come from women who survived, who endured, who
Yes.
carried families, communities, and expectations on their
Right.
back. Women who didn't have the luxury to rest or softness or choice.
Mm.
So grit became a legacy. I know it did in my family, right? My granny was an orphan at 7 and she had to raise 5 siblings. She became a mother at 12 and then raised 7 children in extreme poverty. Her legacy was passed through poverty and
Wow.
struggle and alone, being
Yeah.
alone. Yeah. But here's
Wow.
the hard truth: when one has endured survival, it's a hard thing when we burn when it burns us out. Generational grit without healing turns into generational burnout. We inherit strength without inheriting
Wow.
safety. And then we wonder why we're exhausted, even when life looks successful. This is so now we're going to talk about reprogramming is not about becoming soft, right? This is where a lot of people get nervous because when I talk about healing, people worry, women worry, will I lose my edge? Will I lose my drive? Will it make me less powerful? No. Reprogramming is not about becoming soft, it's about becoming regulated. It's about being able to choose effort instead of being compelled by fear. It's about assessing grit without sacrificing yourself.
Wow.
So let's redefine grit.
Yes.
Survival grit says, how much can I endure? Empowered grit says, how much can I expand? Expansion allows rest. Expansion allows support. Expansion allows alignment. Expansion says I can build a life that doesn't require me to be constantly on guard. And this is where grit changes its shape. It
Right.
stops being about pushing through the pain and it starts being about being present through our growth. Because growth is uncomfortable, but it's not threatening. And your nervous system has to learn the difference. Grit is our bridge between survival and thriving.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Trauma trained us to survive. Healing trains us to thrive. But I'm going to say it again. Grit becomes the bridge in between. Not the old grit, not the punishing grit, not the grit that ignores your body, the conscious grit, the grit that says, I can sit with discomfort without abandoning myself. I can slow down without falling apart. I
Beautiful.
can receive without losing control. That's regulated strength.
Wow.
Reprogramming doesn't happen with one moment. It happens in small, consistent signals to the body. The moment you choose to rest, the moment you ask for help, the moment you don't over explain, or when you choose to pause instead of push. Each time your nervous system learns, I survived slowing down. I survived receiving. I survived not doing everything myself. And slowly, that alarm that had become your norm, it starts to quiet. So as we as you move beyond 2025 into 2026, I want you to move into conversations. As you hear other women's stories, I want you to listen differently. Not with judgment, not with comparison, but with curiosity. And I want you to ask yourself, what did her nervous system learn?
Mm.
What did mine learn? And am I ready to and what am I ready to teach it now? Because reprogramming doesn't start with force. It starts with permission. Permission to feel safe in stillness, permission to want ease, permission to build a future that doesn't mirror your past. If awareness was about seeing the pattern, reprogramming is about interrupting it gently, intentionally, powerfully. And when your body begins to trust the present, your grit stops fighting the future and it starts building it.
Excellent.
Up
Wow.
until now, we've talked about where your grit comes from and how your nervous system learned how to use it. But this is where everything changes because awareness without direction creates grief, and reprogramming without vision creates confusion. Reinvention is where power comes back.
Hmm.
This is the moment where grit stops being about your past and starts being a strategy for your future.
Wow.
I want to start by clearing up a myth. Reinvention is not about becoming someone else. It's not about erasing your past. It's not about pretending trauma didn't shape you. Reinvention is about choice. It's about consciously deciding what stays and what goes and what finally gets to be built with intention. Because many of us didn't choose the identities we're living inside of.
Right.
We were built in response to what was required, what was rewarded, and what is necessary to survive. And reinvention acts as a different question. It asks us, who do I become when I no longer am reacting to my past? When trauma shapes identity, it prioritizes function. Who did I need to be stay safe? Who did I need to be accepted? Who did I
Wow.
need to be to avoid conflict? Who did I need to be to succeed at all costs? So we become the fixer, the provider, the achiever, the
Wow.
peacemaker, and the strong one. And guess what? Those identities don't work when you're looking to thrive because they were never designed to support joy. They were designed to prevent pain. And we
Wow.
operate from two spaces in life. We either move towards pleasure or away from pain. And reinvention begins when you realize that you're allowed to want more than survival. So,
Wow.
why values matter more than goals? This
Hmm.
is where most people get it wrong. We jump straight to goals. More money, more success, more visibility, more freedom. But if your values are still rooted in survival, you'll build a bigger cage.
Oh,
Goals
wow.
answer what? Values answer why.
Right.
Survival mode values sound like security at all costs. Don't rock the boat. I need to be needed. I need to prove my worth, and I could never fail.
Hmm.
Empowered values sound like integrity, freedom, alignment, peace, joy, and choice. And when you choose values intentionally, grit stops becoming reactive. It becomes
Beautiful. Wow.
directed. So
Wow.
let's talk about success
Yes.
because
Oh my
most
goodness.
women are chasing a definition that never consciously agreed to. Success that looks impressive but feels empty. Success that costs you your health. Success that requires self-abandonment. That's not
Hmm.
success. That's survival in a very nice outfit. And we all want to look cute, but we need to ask,
Hmm.
what does success feel like in my body? Is it spacious? Is it calm? Is it sustainable? Is it aligned? And does it feel tight, rushed, or exhausted? Because your body will always tell you
This
what
is powerful.
whether the life you're building belongs to you. Many of
Hmm.
us are living inherited lives. Excuse me.
This is powerful, powerful nuggets you're dropping, Leticia. My goodness.
Thank you. Many of us are living inherited lives. We have all subscribed to that conveyor belt of success that has been taught to us from young. You got a good education, you got a good job, you climb that ladder. And then when you
Climate.
get to 65, now you have permission to live your life, right?
Oh my goodness.
We
Right.
inherit expectations, we inherit roles, we inherit beliefs about work, rest, and womanhood, as well as our worth. And reinvention is the moment that we stop asking, what should I do? And start asking, what do I want to experience? What do I want my days to
Wow.
feel like? What do I want my relationships to sound like? What do I want my work to give me and stop taking from me? And that is where grit becomes creative,
Hmm.
not endurance,
Wow.
but in creation. So here's the truth no one prepares you for. Just like healing, reinvention is uncomfortable. Choosing differently requires grit. Holding boundaries requires grit. Letting go of old identities, guess what? That requires grit too. But this grit is different. It's not the clenched teeth grit. It's not the white knuckle grit. It's not the push through at all costs grit. It is aligned grit. The grit that allows you to sit in the discomfort of becoming without punishing yourself for it.
Hmm.
So I
This is
always
so good.
ask people this question. Who is the woman you become when grit is no longer a survival mechanism, but a strategy for freedom?
Wow. Hmm.
Because who you want to become already exists. She just hasn't been given the reins yet.
Wow.
So I know, Dr. India, we're going to work on our vision board
Yes, we
next,
are.
right? And I just want to just speak to that, right? This is not like a cute exercise. It's not about wishful thinking. It's a declaration.
Yeah.
Your 2026 grit plan is not about doing more. It's about choosing better. When
Mm.
you create it, I want you to think of it in four layers. First, identity. Who am I becoming? Second, values. What do
Right.
I refuse to compromise? Third, experience. What do I want life to feel like? And fourth, direction. Where am I consciously going? This is grit with purpose. This is resilience with direction. This is power without punishment. So, as you prepare to create your vision, I want you to ask yourself, what version of me am I ready to retire? What am I
Right.
no longer willing to normalize? What does ease look like for me without guilt? And what would I choose if I trusted myself fully? But most importantly, what kind of grit do I want to carry forward? The
Hmm.
kind that drains me or the kind that frees me?
Wow.
I want you to remember this. Your past shape your grit, but you get to shape what is next. You are not here to recreate survival. You are here to design alignment. Let your vision reflect who you are becoming, not who you had to be. Let your grit support your joy. Let your strength serve your peace. Let your future honor the work that you've already done. Reinvention is not a one time moment, it's a series of brave decisions. And today, in this moment, this vision is one of them. You don't need permission. You don't need perfection. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to make a choice. That's grit in its highest form. So,
Wow.
before I leave this room today, I want you to understand something very clearly. Grit has always been praised in women. We literally have songs about it, but rarely has it been protected. We are told to be strong, to endure, to push through, to keep going. And for generations, women have done exactly that. We've held families together. We've carried the emotional labor that no one saw. We swallowed pain so others could stay comfortable. We survived things that should have broken us. And the world called that admirable. But
Yeah.
admiration is not the same as honor. And
Right.
far too often, women are celebrated for their grit while being denied the safety, support, and space that grit was built to compensate in the first place. So I want to say it as plainly as possible. Endurance is not the highest expression of strength. Choice is. The truth is, most women don't struggle because they lack grit. They struggle because they're using grit to survive environments they were never meant to stay in. They've been using grit to tolerate what should have been changed, to normalize what should have been questioned, to carry what should have been shared. And eventually, grit becomes a prison because your strength is only measured by how much you can endure. You can never get credit for choosing yourself.
Hmm.
So choosing
Wow.
yourself after years of survival is one of the bravest things women can do, because
Wow.
survival teaches you not to rock the boat, not to ask for
Right.
too much, not to rest yet, and don't need, don't feel, don't want, and don't receive. So
Mhm.
choosing yourself feels dangerous. It feels selfish. It feels uncomfortable. It feels unfamiliar. But it's the most radical act of grit there is, because choosing yourself means I stopped abandoning my body. I stopped ignoring my
Wow.
intuition. I stopped proving my worth through suffering. I choose alignment over approval. I choose peace over performance. I choose truth over tolerance. And that choice, that is the choice that changes everything. So here's an identity shift I want you to hear and take with you. You're not here to be the strongest woman in the room. You're here to be the most aligned one. Aligned with your values, aligned with your needs, aligned with the life you actually want to live. The woman you are becoming doesn't need to earn rest. She doesn't need to justify joy. She doesn't need to apologize for wanting more. She understands that grit is not about how much she can tolerate, but how intentional she chooses to be.
Wow.
Rising doesn't have to look loud. Sometimes it looks like saying no without explaining, resting without guilt, asking for help without shame, leaving what drains you and staying where you are nourished. Rising looks like trusting yourself again. It looks like letting your nervous system settle, letting your body exhale, letting your life expand beyond survival. And yes, that takes grit. But again, it's not the ill grit, it's the conscious grit, the regulated grit, the grit that's rooted in self trust instead of self sacrifice. So let me leave you with this. Your grit is not how much you've endured. It's not how much you've carried. It's not in how long you stayed silent.
Hmm.
Your grit is in your audacity to heal, to rest, to want more, and to stop apologizing for it.
Mm.
So I am Letitia, the Survival Made Disruptor, and I hope that I have helped you to redefine grit and start choosing you.
Oh my gosh. Wow. This was absolutely fabulous. I had so many light bulbs going off, so many questions, and I'm going to open it up a little bit. And I'm so glad that Saya was able to join us. Hello.
Hi. I couldn't have tuned into a better, that's what I needed. I love it. I love it.
It was amazing.
Thank
So
you.
much.
Yeah, it's so cool.
I have to be honest. When people come to me to talk about grit, usually they're talking about endurance and surviving a tough moment. Never have they talked about going through the healing process and really having a conversation with your nervous system about how it's really going. We push ourselves till we are burning on both ends of the thread. It's like going, fastest speed on the treadmill, and you just don't care. You're just going to go till you pass out.
Mhm.
And we have to press pause. And we've got to redefine grit, like you said here. I'm telling you, this was so filling to my soul. Like, I got to listen to your session alone again because it was so warmful to me to hear this. and to know that it's okay to slow down. You know, I must say I have been guilty in that, and knowing that when I'm not traveling as much, there's nothing wrong with me because I'm not taking up 55 speaking engagements. If anything, it's fabulous that I decided to sip on some tea and sit down on the couch with my son and my daughter and to be a human. We don't have to be superwoman, you know, and it's okay to ask for help. Like you said, I think one thing, the what you have shown me with having grit unhinged, which is what this really is you become superwoman. You have all the answers. Then when things start raveling apart, you're afraid to ask for help. You always have to have it put together. We're so worried about people's opinions, and it's so image conscious and so performance driven, and it gets old. Your body will start talking to you and saying, okay, enough is enough. You know, and I recently was in a car accident. Somebody hit me from behind, and it made me slow down. I had to miss a couple speaking engagements. And I felt like a failure because I'm like, oh no, I was supposed to be this place and that place, and I couldn't do it. And it was like that. Oh, but you can endure, you can pull it together. And my body said, no, you will not.
One day your body will lay you down. When it's time, it will lay you flat out.
My body said, no, ma'am, you will go to your physical therapist. You will get those massages. Yes, ma'am. You will use your cooling pad and your heating pads and get better. That's what you're going to do. But I can say, and many thousands of women I know can relate to what you're saying. I've got to keep something on my calendar to stay busy, or else I'm a failure. And it's like, who convinced you of that truth? Because it's not true.
But oftentimes that's our conditioning, right? Like,
yeah.
As Black women, Dr. India, as Black women, we are conditioned to work twice as hard for half as much, right?
Oh yes.
And we're conditioned for that from young, right? Yeah. We're also conditioned to be the strong Black woman. You just power through. So it's ingrained in us from a very young age, and then we don't challenge it. Because if I'm not strong, how my mama's gonna receive that? How my cousins you know what I mean? We get so caught up in the conditioning that we don't recognize that is actually what's keeping us stuck. Even if it looks like from the outside we're being successful, you know what I mean? But, you know, I got to the pinnacle of my career and realized I was knee deep in survival mode.
Wow. Yeah. And you know, it's what got me, what you're talking about is the freeze mode. When you've done so much and then your body starts to kick back the success. It starts to kick back opportunities because your body is saying, I've had enough. Slow down, stop. Don't go on another plane. Don't do another whatever. I wrote 70 books. And like you said, working twice as hard. It wasn't until I wrote like maybe my 40th book that I really started to get acknowledged as an author. And so I totally understand where you're coming from. I even had people say, you wrote 40 books? No, you didn't. You wrote about 20. You wrote 20. And I'm like, okay, you can find every ISBN out there. You could buy every single one, but yet you want to disqualify because I'm not 40 years old yet. Like it was one of those moments. Or people saying, oh, you got your doctorate, but is it a real doctorate? Or, you know, I don't know if you really did that. I think you're fibbing. And it's like, okay, go to University of Florida. Okay. And go ask them to show you their library. Go check it out and get back with me when the dissertation costs you $85 to purchase. You know, like it's like, but I say this because like you have all these moments of success. They will still invalidate you, still think that you don't know what you're talking about. I've had people say my work was non-scholarly, even though I did all this research. I did so much research. But then I noticed once you do reach that pinnacle of success, your body will start to kick back, even good opportunities, because it's tired. And my body, when I got in this car accident, it was like my body was like, enough, kick back, kick back, kick back. Yep, you're not going there. You're not doing there. You're not doing. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, success is like fabulous, but not to the point of death, not to the point of having a stroke. I had a mother in the church that I used to go to. And I go to Pentecostal churches and, we like all the excitement. And the mother told me she was a very successful corporate woman, African-American woman. And she told me one day she went to get up and do her every day and had a stroke. And since that day, she could barely even walk. She could barely tend for herself. And she always had to have her children help her from that day on, because she was at the top of the corporate world doing her thing, didn't listen to her body. And now it caused her to suffer significantly for years. And it's like, you read the stories of the women that, oh God, aneurysm, oh God, had a stroke, oh God, they have something that just came over them. And I'm going to be honest, this is the first time I have ever considered thinking about your nervous system and healing and overcoming trauma with grit instead of being the endurer through grit, because that's what, when education, when you think of it in education or business, is about how can you thrive and overcome and continue to evolve. Well, I mean, goodness, you're still human, and I'm so thankful that you put the human element back to grit, because there is nothing wrong with being a woman, being able to slow down. And Saya, I would love for you to comment as well, because you don't have to do anything else. Like, I don't have to write another book. Listen, I wrote 70 books. Y'all need to figure this thing out. Okay. I wrote 70. I mean, seriously, I'm like, do I have to write another book? I've written 25 books. I mean, seriously. And that's not the textbooks. With the math textbooks, that's over 100 publications. Do I need to write anything else? Like, no. It was, but then it makes me think, Leticia, was that endurance? Was I doing
the motivation? What was the motivation?
What was the motivation? Was it because I wanted to honor the struggle of the ancestors? Was it, what was that motivation? Was it, oh, I gotta endure, I gotta keep pushing it out, I gotta push through? Like, what is it? Mm-hmm. What is it? And I'm so thankful you said that, because you've made me slow down. Like, you've kicked me in the nose with this. Like, girl, what are you, like,
I don't call myself a disruptor for no reason, ma'am.
I'm trying not to write a book in 2020. I think that's like where I'm at now. Like, okay, don't need to write a book. Even though I know to be guilty, yes, I do have some books I'm still working on, but
if it's a choice, then it's empowered, right? If it's a choice,
you made me reconsider, why is it? What is fueling my grit? It is okay to be fueled by healing versus endurance. This is a huge conversation, especially in diverse communities. And as women, we feel like we have to compete in corporate America or among the men that are among us, because men just have this way about them. We love y'all, men. We welcome you to this. But men have a way where it's like they walk in the room and they take over, because they're men and they have that dominance and they know how to run things. They feel like kings, and they are kings. Hey, we got to give it to them. But sometimes they do it at our expense, right? Because, oh, you're just a little lady. I don't even consider what you have to say as credible. And just like sometimes some men, right, they'll look at a woman and what she has to bring to the table and her wisdom and her 2 cents as subpar. Some people also look at people of diverse backgrounds as subhuman and subpar. So I remember, working for an individual, and we had a certain contract agreement. This is a different, like, construction company I was working for, but that individual saw me as subhuman, so they felt like I didn't deserve to be paid. And they would pay me not my worth. They pay me what they felt like I was worth. So, and it was always significantly less than what was agreed upon. And when you have different things like this take place, you get into that endurance and that survivor mode. And I've got to work 18 times as hard But we have got to get off of that bandwagon as a people, as gender, as women. And we have got to reclaim our power. And we have to realize our worth never went away. Because I think that's another thing is we think we've lost value somewhere along the way. We have not. And so, Saya, I would love for you to chime in to this conversation and talk to us.
Well, I don't know. I'm just thinking, first of all, just your words, Leticia, are just, you just sucked me in. I was just going to listen, and I started like writing everything down. And so I'll have to see if there's a recording or something, because
yes, there will be.
I need to hear it again, kind of like
yes.
you. But it's just like how I relate to it. I don't know, a week or two ago, I'm in a group of business coaches, and we were all saying something nice about each other. And they kept saying, "Oh, you've got so much grit. You just keep going. You're so dogged, all these things." And I actually didn't take it as a compliment, because I mean, one of them even said, "Oh, I think I would have given up and worked at Starbucks by now." And it wasn't like in a complimentary way. But I kind of told the head of the group that later. She said, "Oh, everybody thought you've got so much grit." And I thought, I know I have grit, and I can't explain why I keep going. But like having other people comment on it, it didn't feel good to me. I don't know why. It didn't feel like a compliment. It needed to come from me. I don't want to hear that from others. I don't know. What is that about?
Well, I think it was the context of how they gave you the compliment about your grit. And to say that you should work at Starbucks is an insult, because she should have said, she could have said, with your grit, you can open up a whole corporation.
Yeah, exactly.
That would have been the different. Exactly. But for you to say, I need to work at Starbucks, you're saying that my grit's not profiting me anything, and that I'm working too hard and I'm not getting anything from it. So I might as well take that energy and go make caramel lattes at Starbucks. That's a slap in the face.
Yeah, I thought so. I really did.
So you're in your right mind. I'm just a confirmation over here, just letting you know that shame on them, And I think that you should be careful of that type of energy too, because people like that are exposing themselves to you, right? And so you got to take people for what they give you. If she's giving you that kind of energy, what is she going to give you in the future? So I would kind of put a pencil in on that one and give that person a side eye, because they just let you know what they think about you and your work ethic. But anyways, that's another topic. Here or there. We'll talk about that another time. But I think that what you're saying is spot on, when it comes down to this, and what Leticia was saying as well.
Yeah. I've always thought of grit as something so awesome. And to have it, but I don't need it from the outside, I guess. I don't know. I feel like grit should come from inside. Nobody tell you to go be pretty, right. Go have grit. Like, no.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's why I laid it out the way that I did, because I think, yes, we absolutely admire grit, but is it the right form, right? And that's what I was like, that choice is what makes it evident. Are we choosing this, or are we doing it because we believe that we have to? And it's a massive difference between the two.
Yes, it is. Self-care is key. At the end of this, when I think of people, God bless his soul, like Steve Jobs, who was probably one of the most grittiest people. We remember when he was so innovative, coming out with the iPhone, this and the iPad, and everybody, we couldn't keep up with him. There was always something he was dropping, a surprise. But then, at the end of his life, I wonder if he thought, man, I could have slowed down a couple times. I could have had more times with the family. I could have traveled more. But he was so gritty. And it's almost like you said, what was his source of grit? What was he trying to build? Not just a legacy, but what else was stirring that? And we have to get out of that, just disrupting, like you said, the survivor mode of grit, and going into the I am completely wholesome and whole and still thriving and confident within. And, I don't need anybody else to validate, and I don't need anything from outside. Like you were saying, I'm complete the way I am. And I'm just going to continue to evolve, and I'm going to bring abundance to every space, and I'm going to bring 100% of myself to every space. And I think that's a beautiful thing that we should harp upon in 2026 as we're thriving together.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I just want to say this last piece. I've spent a lot of my life proving people wrong, right? I think that was the beginning of my grit journey. Every time somebody says I couldn't do something, I proved them wrong. But when there's negative comments and silent, I couldn't push myself. I didn't know how to, because that negative motivation drove me. It drove me at my core. And I had to learn how to positively motivate myself without those inputs from the naysayers who I had successfully proven wrong every single time.
Right. Oh my gosh. And Saya, go ahead and speak on that, and then I'll chime in.
No, it just kind of reminds me of the Starbucks comment, because when she said that, I was like, oh, I can't wait, because I know where I'm going.
Right.
And I don't need the little back pats along the way, maybe, that she needs. You know what I mean? I mean, there's a group of them.
Right.
They were meant well, but when people show you who they are, believe them. And that's just the message I took from it, But I feel like that's exactly what, there is that naysay thing that just makes me want to go, but that healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now there's a fine line between this, right, Saya? Because you already know where you're going to go. So you're in the zone of working in silence.
Right.
And then coming out with a bang, right? I've learned to do that, because I remember one time I went to someone when I started talking about grit for the first time in like 2018. And I went to someone and I said, I want everybody to shine. I want everybody to thrive and shine. And the person came to me and they said, shine. Oh, India, don't ever use that word. That just sounds so disgusting. You need to use, something else, but don't ever use shine again. So it was such a negative damper. But then I was like, I've got to prove that wrong. So I went and joined a Shine girls mentoring group, and I spoke as a keynote at the Shine, because I was so discombobulated and trying to figure out how to make all this make sense. But I say that because it's like, it's a fine line between, like, how far do you let their negativity drive you before it becomes a negative on your life. So for instance, somebody to talk about, you'll see somebody with a Porsche. I'll use a Porsche because we've seen lots of Porsches popping up. And then somebody who knows they barely have enough money to afford a Porsche down payment, they're like, oh, you know what? I'm going to get a Porsche because they said that I wouldn't be nothing. And I'm going to show them, I'm going to pull up in my red Porsche, baby. And then what happens? Oil change or a part breaks down. you get that Porsche bill, baby. Okay. And you're going to be crying because you're going to realize you can't afford a Porsche. And that negativity of whether it was what they said about you or the green-eyed devil of envy, jealousy, things like that. And it's driving you to do things that you should have just, remained grateful, stayed in your lane, and not allow their negativity or the negative emotions that they're bringing to you drive you off of a cliff. And so, Saya, I think in this season, we are finding our people. We are finding ourselves, or finding our voices, or finding our purpose. And we're going to continue to thrive forward with those people. Now, the people that say other things, I think we've got to let them off the exit as we remain on the interstate. So thank you so much for that comment. You and that comment can exit left. Okay. And I'm going to keep driving forward. I mean, because literally, I can't take all of you. We all can't climb it. Like, you can watch me climb or you can join me. But if you're making comments like that, we're going to detour. We're going to exit you right here off that rest station right there. It was nice driving with you this far. You got me this far, and now I got to keep going.
Yep.
So
take what you can from it, but like, don't take it too much to heart. But
exactly.
think it is. Because I mean, yeah, that stuff does fuel me. But yeah, and I think I used to be like where that would get me down. Now it kind of makes me thrive in a healthy way. But like sharing it with you guys, the pain is gone. It's just, can you believe she said that? You know,
mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you shared it because like we all had like, so I had a person when I first started writing books, like textbooks. And, you know, I was in LA and the person met me before I went up to my hotel and they were like, oh, you're Dr. White? You're Dr. White? Oh, you're just a token. You're just a token. And she said, get your name on the books and go. Don't you know you don't belong here? Don't you know this is a white company? Don't you know that we don't keep blacks around here long? So didn't you say you're a speaker? Why don't you go do something like that? You don't belong here. Get your names on the book and go. And told me from the bottom of her heart that I was a token and I didn't belong. So I'm grateful to say that since then I have been able to move forward and contribute to a whole nother set of wonderful, fabulous K-12 math textbooks. But in that moment, it was like, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, and the thing that got me was like, am I crazy? Like, is it, you know, like, so like kind of how you were feeling like, am I crazy? Like that somebody said this to me. It's not you. And my question is, what fueled that person to come to me to say that all the way across the states? Okay. I never met her before in my life. And that's the first thing she said to me. It doesn't, like, where is that energy coming from? Yeah. So I don't understand where certain people's energy comes from, but we have enough grit to heal within and to know that what they're saying is not always true. People have opinions, you know, doesn't mean their opinions are true. And it doesn't mean their opinions should weigh us down. And so I had to, you know, also for her, she had to detour and take a, you know, stage left. And I had to keep going forward. But it's so funny because then that same person met me years later when I was a part of the other, you know, textbooks. And she was able to see, oh, I have to eat my words because she's still writing and people still want her. And, you know, the education world still values her, even though she didn't value me because of colorism. Right. Well, she's just going to have to watch me shine and thrive, you know, and that's what that person's going to have to do with you, Saya, is, you know, they're going to have to see you in 2026 and beyond, and they're going to turn back around. They're going to eat their words. They're going to say, "Ooh, wow. Ooh, I should have." Wow. Yeah. You know, so they always say, be careful who you underestimate. Be careful who you know, disdainfully look down at, because that might be your boss one day. That might be the person that will help you. You never know.
Well, and I think that's why people like us are just shocked when people like that say those things, because I would never, at least intentionally, say something to hurt somebody, you know, like, you know, but there's like intention behind both of the, I mean, especially the comment to you. And that makes me think she did read a little bit about you and was threatened or something, you know, like that's somebody coming way out of their lane,
way out of pocket.
And the thing is, we never did business together. Okay. And then she even mentioned, she said, wait, aren't you a speaker or something? Like, and she's like, oh, my son's a speaker too, you know, and he's on stages everywhere and da. And but it was so funny because like shortly after she said that, then I landed the TED Talk. And so it was kind of cool because, you know, she was saying that I was a token, I didn't know much. And then I landed a TED Talk. And then all the stuff that I talked about in the TED Talk is now being funneled through millions of textbooks all over the nation. So it's kind of cool that she has to, you know, now read about the token and what the token is talking about. You know, and I had to learn to give a little grace, but to keep moving forward. So, you know, I had to let her exit stage left and continue to move forward. And you know why I'm telling this story? We have so many people that we cover for that have done us wrong, that have done dirty. And we wonder why we can't heal and move forward. We have to expose and release. You have to release yourself and expose it and move forward. Yeah. And that's why I love telling these stories, or even the story of my math teacher, senior year high school, who said, you know, India, what did he say? India, you're stupid. You'll never understand calculus. and you'll never major in math. Why don't you go do something that you and your people can do? So I did. So I majored in math, and they offered me his calculus job. I didn't take it because I wanted nothing to do with him. But the fact that he tried to plant that seed, but then Leticia got into that mode of, oh, I've got to prove him wrong and all this other stuff. And then I said, no, I don't got to prove wrong. I just got to be great and define my own route forward, by the grace of God. And that's what I decided to do. But I'm exposing that so that people understand that our children are going through certain things like this that are very unjust. And they need protection and they need the right people in front of them. But, with that said, I do want to, pivot us and go back to this amazing conference, this program. What you spoke about, Leticia, I can eat on this for months. I'm telling you. Is there a way that we can reach you, Leticia, before we go into our vision board activity? Do you have information for us that we can, we can reach you with email or whatnot?
My website is LeticiaReneeFrancis.com, LeticiaReneeFrancis.com. My email is info@LeticiaReneeFrancis.com. On my website, you'll find information about my book, The Survival Mode Action Plan. I have a Facebook community called the Survival Mode Exodus Community for high achieving women ready to exit survival mode. And I also have a podcast called Survival Mode Disrupted, where we share stories about how to exit survival mode, which can be found on all the podcasting streaming sites as well as YouTube.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I hope you guys got that information. I'm going to stream the website once more. And I know we are going to stay on schedule. We are now set to talk about vision boards and what that looks like before we get into our next speaker, Mrs. Saya. So I'm really excited. So any questions for Leticia or any comments, Saya, before we transition?
No, I want to read your book.
Yes.
Thank you. It's exclusively available through my website at the moment, but yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's just, excellent. I could get more too. I would love more.
Yeah, I need her on my podcast also. I tell you, we need to enhance this voice and this wisdom. Because I was like, oh my goodness, where have you been all my life?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So, okay, guys. So now we are here. We are going to be talking about, of course, grit and our grit vision board. And so I want you to just, if you have a board, that's cool. If you have a planner, that's cool. If you have a calendar, if you have a workbook, like I have a little notepad that I'm going to use just because I want it to be something that is just kind of everybody can do it. And so I'm going to wind up sharing my screen for us so that you guys can see this. Give me a minute. Can you see me sharing my screen? All right, I'm sharing my screen. And so I'm going to go into my files of the grit vision board activity and things like that. Give me a minute. Let me stop sharing this on this side. I'm going to pull this up first, and then I'm going to reshare my screen. So the first things first is we're going to talk about the grit activity, what that looks like, what the expectations are for us. And so I first want to open this. Open with